For my virtual field trip, we will be visiting one of the 8 battleship museums left on Earth. This battleship is particularly special because it was actually given to the people of North Carolina as remembrance of the servicemen who died in World War II. The USS North Carolina was laid down on October 27, 1937 at the New York Navy Yard. She is 221 meters long with a 33-meter beam and a 10.1-meter draft. We begin this tour by stepping onto the open top deck. Of course, one of the first things you notice are a lot of guns. One of the first guns you see is the 20mm gun mount. This is a Swiss Oerlikon 20mm anti-craft gun, and it was used to defend the ship against close-range air attacks. Another gun you are bound to notice is the 1.1-inch quadruple mount gun. This weapon is a 1.1-inch anti-aircraft gun. When built, North Carolina had 4 quadruple mounts placed several levels above the main deck, 2 on each side of the ship, 1 on the front and 1 towards the back. There are several other types of guns. However, we all know everyone wants to know about the big guns, and they're literally called the big guns. This 16-inch guns comprise North Carolina's main battery, her most destructive weapon. These big guns provided impressive firepower. They could accurately fire at a target 21 to 23 miles away, depending on the type of projectile used. Moving on from guns, another thing that you might notice once you step foot on the ship is what the boat likes to call the eyes in the sky. These images are of the Kingfishers, a rare naval airplane. The purpose of these airplanes are for spotting gunfire, patrolling for enemy submarines, rescuing airmen, towing targets for anti-aircraft batteries, dropping messages to ships at sea, flying mail runs to ports, or making flights to radar calibration. Next, we take the tour up a flight of stairs to the signal bridge. The signal bridge was used for visual communication. Visual communication was used for ships to pass messages between each other by using the guide for signal flags on the bridge. Also included on the bridge was the Combat Information Center. The Combat Information Center collected, evaluated, and shared tactical information to fight battles. Next, we have the chart house, which was the navigator's primary workplace. The navigator was a human GPS. The navigators had the 3rd highest rank below the captain and executive captain. The captain and navigator were often on the bridge for long hours of the day, and this allowed them to have sleeping quarters above deck in order to be close by when needed. Next, we go to the lower deck, which is personally my favorite part. It gives you an idea of how everyone worked together in order to operate the ship. It was like a mini city down there. It shows that it's not always about big guns, captains, and admiral flags. So if you were wondering how that big ship got moving, then we can begin by discussing the engines and all the parts that it took to work. The lower deck included many pieces that helped the boat operate. The engine included boilers, a turbine including high and low pressure, power and control areas, hydraulic assemblies, and reduction gear used to move the ship forward and backward. Moving on to the good stuff, next we're going to talk about food and what all of the men ate while they were on board. We're going to begin by talking about the bake shop. The bake shop prepared cakes, pies, bread, and all other baked goods. 6 to 7 men worked here, and it was a night job, preparing for the next day's meals. The bakery often prepared cakes for people's birthdays. Also included in the lower deck was a butcher shop, a vegetable locker, and even an ice cream machine. Here is the galley or the kitchen area for the enlisted men. It was basically like a cafeteria for the men. The galley prepared roughly 8 million meals for servicemen within the 6 years it was operating as a battleship. Of course, the higher ranked officials had nicer eating areas with tables and tablecloths, but the enlisted men generally ate in the mess hall. Next, we're going to look at where the men slept, which wasn't a very large area. Here is where the enlisted men shared sleeping spaces, bathrooms, showers, and so on. As you can imagine, it was very crowded, and you didn't get much privacy. Lines could get very long for a few short minutes of soap and water. It was said that up to 200 men would be in this area during a given shift. As you can imagine, the higher-ranked officers had more comfortable and private staterooms compared to what the enlisted men had to squeeze into. Here are a few examples. All needs for the men were essentially taken care of. They had a laundry room, a barber shop, a projector room for men to watch movies, 2 stores, and a post office. The ship also had a complete set of medical facilities. It had doctor's offices, dentist's office, a dispensary for medicine, a surgery room, and a sick ward for sick patients. And it was actually one of the only rooms with AC. Like I said, it took a miniature town to allow this ship to operate. Sadly, this ends the tour of the USS Battleship. I didn't get to hit all of the spots on the ship, so I encourage you to go visit yourself any day during the week from 8 to 5 p.m. Thanks for watching, and go see it in person.